He was God, but he did not consider equality with God something to grasp onto for his own advantage. No, down, 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 we understand he went. From God to making himself nothing, to being taking the nature of a servant, to being found in human likeness, and then as a man, a real human being, humbled himself even further by becoming obedient to death. Not just any death, but death on a Roman cross. He was the Lord, he was the Master, he was the great sovereign of the universe, and yet he became a servant of God and others, prepared even to wash the disciples' feet. He took human likeness completely and utterly. In other words, there was nothing in his appearance to give away who he was. You would not pass him in the street and say, oh, there goes God. No. He wasn't accompanied by a shining light hovering over him like a halo. He took human likeness. He looked like you and me. And that is, he took our place. He came into where we are. He entered fully and completely into our world, the Son of God in our place. He was breathing the air we breathe. He was rubbing shoulders with the people of the day. He was looking into their eyes. He took his place right among humanity. And when he did that, he did not simply take our nature and then lived in some sort of isolated, sanitized spiritual environment. He did not live in a big palace where only a few people could get to see him if they filled in the right forms the right way. No. He came to first century Jewishness. He came to the home of a carpenter. He came to the town of Nazareth and lived right in the middle of humanity, where he would hear people swear and he would wince at their blasphemy just like you and I do. And he would eat with notorious sinners and tax collectors and prostitutes, which is why the religious orthodoxy utterly despised him from the very beginning. And that's why they said if he was really God, if he was the Messiah, he would be sanitized, he would be removed, he would be enrobed, he would be separate. He would not be hanging out with these people. And that's why they complained it again and again. Well, you don't dress like us. You don't fast like us. You don't keep the Sabbath like us. You don't wash your hands ceremonially like us before you eat. What's wrong with you? You're no Messiah. You're a pretender. We'll have none of this. You're a threat. You're common. You're too popular. We have to do away with you. He was the Messiah, all right. But he wasn't the Messiah they were expecting, and not the Messiah they wanted. He came as a servant. And the suffering servant at that, who took our sin and was crushed for us. And taking the nature of a servant, he went lower still. He took the curse of death upon the cross. Just as Nazareth was the last place that you'd look on earth for God, so is the cross the last place that you'd look to go and find God. That is why the Bible says the message of the cross is absolute foolishness to men and women. Are you actually telling me that on the Roman cross we see God himself? Yes. There was nothing that looked less like God at work than this, and nothing that looked less like God himself as that figure on the cross. How could it possibly be? You say, I'm amazed by this, I'm staggered, and you ought to be. The idea that Christianity is the invention of the fertile imagination of men and women, that they sat down together and said, let's conceive of a religion that will be interesting and be a believable thing, and so on. You can't imagine anything as inconceivable as this. God on the cross. And while in the garden, as we saw, the disciples failed to grasp what is going on. At the scene of the cross itself, one of the other criminals hanging with him turns to him and recognizes him. And when the disciples buzz off and say, oh, this whole thing is over, it's about to end in a mess at Calvary. That's it, let's go, let's all run away. At that point, the fellow next to Jesus turns to him and recognizes him. God is up here, he says to himself. This man has done nothing wrong, he proclaims. Remember me, he says to Jesus, when you come in your kingdom. And this suffering, brutalized figure of humanity turns back to him and says, today you will be with me in paradise. Jesus, the Son of God for all eternity, down, down, down he went, made himself nothing for you, took the nature of a servant for you, humbled himself for you, was obedient to death for you, even death on a cross for you. And if you, like the hanging thief alongside of him, has recognized him for who he is, proclaimed him as innocent, this man has done nothing wrong, and have said words to the effect of, remember me, have mercy on me, a sinner, then you too can claim Jesus' life-giving, thrilling words, you will be with me in paradise.